Good morning, everybody. So, merhaba, iyi günler. So this is my presentation. So this is the only Turkish words I do speak. I'm so sorry for that. So I hope you bear in mind that I'm talking English as all the others do. So before I start going through my presentation, a big thank you, Erhan, for the invite coming over to Istanbul, and it's a great pleasure to talk for the next 6 hours about GDS opportunities. So I saw that a couple of presenters overtook their time, so I do maybe the same. Maybe do it in 5 hours. I presented more than 200 slides. I think that's fine. So I'm not sure about your background. My background is I'm from the travel industry, so I worked in many different segments. I worked in the car rental industry, in the travel technology industry, and for the last 10 years in the cruise industry. So a big growth sector, and this is also affecting your business as well, because cruising and increased tourists traveling around the world is really affecting your business as well. So today, I would like to talk a little bit about some opportunities that you might have working with a GDS. I'm not sure about your businesses. Who's working with a GDS or is selling your properties through a GDS? So a couple of hands, that's nice. So for you, maybe it's a confirmation that it is a good way to do, and for others, it's something to learn. But I think overall, it's clearly to state, I mean, we are working in a fantastic industry because this industry is really growing. And when you do see that in 2030, almost more than 5 billion people that are so-called the middle-class travelers on this planet. So this is huge and a massive business for you. And specifically when you look at markets like South America, Asia, India, these are big, big markets that are growing from a source market perspective. And the households today that have a disposable income of $100,000 grow from 2017 from 9.3% into 2030 to more than 20%. I think this is a great opportunity. Technology, and I think this really was touched by many of my pre-speakers today, is changing. And you know, in the 98s, everything was about transparency. There was all of a sudden a Google, there was an Amazon, and they really try to make their products transparent and talk to the customers in a totally different way. Then the next age was, click. I think I have to stay here, right? The next step was everybody was getting social, talk to each other in different formats, in different way, displaying, you know, their experiences in their travel behavior. Solo-mo, social, local, mobile, nothing new for you because everybody is really online today. And the big thing for now and also for the next years to come is artificial intelligence. And there were some speakers today that already said that if you do know more about your guest, the better it is. I mean, it's a perfect example. If you check in somewhere and somebody says, oh, it's great to see you again. I know that you're staying on second floor, and last time you really liked the red wine in our restaurants. So really, technique is really helping and supporting your business. I think that's a key takeaway. Today, it's really interesting to see that the opportunity for hospitality sector is really fantastic in order to have automation. But the fact is that the adoption rate is the lowest if you compare that to other industries. And I think this really talks for good opportunities. You can say like this, oh, Jesus, what I'm doing, do you have a problem? So everything is about how you measure your business and what you really want to put in front. Click, click, click. So, do you know your customers? Who know from the audience who really can say, I know my customers very well? I hope that some put up their hands. Because one of the other speakers were today, okay, sell really unique products. I think this is really something very, very important. Everybody's talking about personalization. So what you really need to know is the habits of your customers, not just here in your area, in your region, but also in other parts of the industry. So, and the customer, that's a good question. What is the customer? Is it the end consumer, or is it the B2B customer? It's another customer. So the way how you want to sell your products. How do you promote yourself? Is it the more traditional way, with the personality you have, or are you going through different technology providers? So where is the GDS role in that? And now it becomes a little bit, don't be afraid, it's not a selling show. Because I just wanted to make sure that we are all aligned. So going a little bit into history, GDSs, some say it's old legacy systems. I mean, all the GDSs have been built around the 50s, 60s, and introduced and established by airlines. But today the business model totally has changed and totally has shifted. So the core elements, of course, are airlines, car rental, and other suppliers. But hotel is really getting a key component in the GDS world today. So what we do is really that we provide a link between web API, tour operators, distributors, and of course to the customer, B2B and B2C. But GDSs are more than that. So our role, for instance, is really to combine all the suppliers that we have in the industry with all the distribution channels. And there's so many different distribution channels today. I'm not considering myself very old. However, sometimes I do feel like that. Because when I started in this industry, the world was a little bit black and white. There were travel agents and tour operators, and that's it. There was competition, and always tourism was very, very important to many people. But when I look at the distribution channels today, it's amazing. About meta searches, we just learned about meta searches and their business models. About IBEs, travel agencies, TMC, so it's a big variety. And the question to you is, how do you talk to them? How do you get to in their mindset? So our role is really to combine this and to build the bridge in these different worlds. And the world is so fragmented, and you saw that. I mean, meta search, online booking, GDS, car search, meta searcher, you name it. Sometimes I get a little bit dizzy about all the logos and brands what we do see. When you go on travel shows today, you might see there are so many new partners and so many new providers on that market. It's complex. But I think we don't need to be afraid of this complexity. I think it's all about how you want to manage your business in that way. So what we've done as a GDS, coming from the core element of airline business, we also have very much concentrated on hospitality solutions, because we also have two elements of consumers. Number one is the end consumer, or the B2B agent. And on the other side, of course, is the hotel. So we also host hotels. We also make sure that the business that we are trying to offer is coming directly from hotels. So you see from all the product offering that we have, and I don't want to go into details on that one, today more than 750,000 hotels are offered through the system, which is massive. It's really, really big. And then the question for you guys is really to stand out, to make sure that your property is very well reflected and differentiated versus other brands. But I think more importantly is on the right-hand side that everything what we offer is going into different channels. It's the direct channel, it's the online platform, it's corporate business, it's into the app world, and it's mobile. So the old one-dimensional world is over. It's a multi-dimensional world right now. This is a glimpse of the properties, customer properties we are today having. So more than 80% are really focusing on the Americas and EMEA region, and APAC is growing on a daily basis. So what's in it for you? Maybe you think, what is that guy talking about? So what does it really mean for me? So a GDS distribution really helps you to manage your availability, to display your rates properly in a way you want to display them, and more importantly about your inventory, so what you have in order of rooms, and therefore to maximize revenue. And I totally agree to Uli what he said before. Come on. It's about to maximize revenue, but it's also about to maximize your profit. I think this is one of the key messages here. So we do that in order to provide XML connectivities, in order to get better availability in rates and inventory, also versus the competition. I think that's key. And also for you to have greater control about your rates you display, because there's a huge competition. And sometimes, and I think it's very important that you are the owner of your pricing, that you are the owner of your rates you have out in the marketplace. And of course, you need to be able to work with your right label chain code. So a couple of GDS best practices. So use a consistent naming of your hotel. Provide the right landmark, because you've seen the markets that have grown in other regions of the world. Sometimes they don't know specifics about your region, so it really makes sense to put the description and the landmark name in the right order. Compare your cancellation rates. Create interactive marketing. I think that's one of the key components that is important. And also to provide the right North Star core ratings, correct sequencing. So everything about in order to differentiate yourself, your property, from the competition. So do market research, first of all. So where are you located? What are the dynamics in your region? What is special about your property, about your hotel? This sounds a little bit like a teacher telling people how to do their business, but sometimes it's important to remind yourself that this market research is really, really important, specifically when you go into the next step and talk about data accuracy. Because everything which is displayed through various channels that comes from GDSs is about content. Maybe you heard about the discussions also in the airline industry, that airlines really try to distract content out of the GDSs in order to go into their private and direct and own channels. So for the consumer and also for the B2B business, it's key that you have 100% content, that they have one channel, that they get 100% content, and this content should be correct. And you have to put everything in there which is important for you, for your property, and also about the uniqueness. One of the speakers was talking today about how being unique, what is special about my hotel, what is so different. Put everything in there, because then it's easier, for the consumer to find you and what your hotel stands for. High quality, meaningful photos, I mean, this is common sense. So the more content you provide to the GDS, the better it is, and it's better for everybody to find you guys. So how does it work? We work in, we call it enterprise platforms. So I think Manfred, you talked about that also along the customer journey. Of course, we have to make sure that we also go along the customer journey, which of course starts with the research, shop and book, pre-trip, in-stay, post-stay. I think it's so important that you really go with the consumer. And we offer that enterprise platform. And how we are going to do that is we go through 4 dimensions. Dimension number 1 is the direct distribution. So performance marketing, website, everything you do on direct, and you want to sell your property on a direct way, we offer solutions for. The platform core, which is the central reservation system, everything which is really happening in your hotel. Thirdly, data and analytics. I think this is a key element as well, because you really need to know what's happening, and I think the morning started with big data. So the more you know about your guests, the better it is. And last but not least, the indirect distribution, OTAs, meta search, business and travel services. And you saw the big variety that this industry is offering. So make sure how you really want to work in the future. Right, and don't forget the tour operators. So we also offer solutions in order to have a separate channel into tour operator business. There's some markets specifically out of the German-speaking markets, like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. They're very heavy on tour operators. UK are still very heavy on tour operator business. So don't forget the tour operator business in that extents, and this is just one example how to connect your properties into there. So these are a couple of examples, and I made up 4 minutes. Is that fantastic? So
yeah, great. And you have some questions if you want to.
good, sure, absolutely.
Great. The first question, do you think the Google will be the biggest OTA in the future?
Well, the thing is, Google is not really talking that much about what they do, and many people think Google is doing something under the surface. I don't think so. I don't think so. But Google is providing, this is what Google is really doing good. I mean, they know more about the behaviors and the preference about customers. And that's why they are so successful. But if they are the biggest OTA, I don't know.
We have another question for you. Small hotels have less chance to succeed in GDS sales. Do you agree?
Depending on your property, on the size, and the way how you want to distribute. I don't agree overall, but I'm out there and we can have a discussion on that. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
These are all.
Thank you. And there's another word I know, teşekkür ederim, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.